Now, the implications of COVID-19 on Australian payments landscape resulting that some Australian businesses and their customers using their choice of payment systems, touchless payments, as well as Pay ID setup, as well as some big changes there. It's actually probably saved us in a way as well. Joining us now live to discuss this is Westerlind Wigstrom, Chief Executive Officer of Monoova, to discuss more. Christian, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, really well. You guys find yourself in the right place at the right time, of course. The implications of COVID-19 on the payments landscape has been pretty obvious just for those of us who head to the supermarket.
Yes, I mean, it's interesting. Apparently, the combination of Googling for virus and cash is particularly strong in Australia and France for some reason. It is something that people are concerned about. We know that the virus stays on surface, but it seems like a reasonable thing to think about.
Now, we've seen a lot of changes, though, haven't we? We've seen the fact, for example, with the touchless and tap and go, etc., that things like increasing the limit so that we don't have to actually touch the keypad, because it's those touch points that are the main concern right now.
That's right. So touch points are of great concern, but for payments, it's more than just how we shop in store. The fact is that a lot of people are no longer shopping in store, and a lot of shops that previously were welcoming their clients in physical shops are now welcoming their clients in virtual shops. So it has been a huge shift at every point of a purchase, really. So we're seeing people pivoting online, and that in itself is often a challenge, because often it's not entirely clear what payment method works best for your particular business. It can differ hugely, and we see that there is probably a lack of knowledge, for no bad reasons. It's highly complex, but a lack of understanding of different versions that there are. Credit cards being the obvious one, but credit card is certainly not the only one. And as you said earlier, the Pay ID is something that's not really coming with immediate.
Yeah, well, talk to us about the Pay ID, because it's become a great way for us to operate essentially online. You're talking about, right, where I'm a Mac person, for example. I've got my credit card details that are logged in there. When I want to go buy something, I just have to tap my finger, and that gives it my fingerprint, and off we go.
That's right. So, I mean, the most important thing is to say that there are so many different ways of paying, and we are probably accustomed to one or two in our ordinary lives. And now we're getting accustomed to a few more. And I think for businesses, and this is part of resilience really for Australian small, medium and large enterprise, is to choose the right kind of payment method. So Pay ID is the part of the real-time payment methods that have come up in the last 2 years. Most of us probably think of it as peer-to-peer payment, but you can also pay, pay your bills. You can pay your merchants and your local supermarket with it. And online, it is something that's becoming increasingly the way to do it, because for the merchant, it means money immediately. For you, it means fewer details to plug in. So I think Pay ID is one of the many ways that can change. And as the whole economy goes more digital over this period, I think we're going to see a shift that isn't fully reversed when we then hopefully get to go out again and meet our friends.
Yeah, I really agree with you, actually. It seems to be like many things, the moment in time where we speed up some things. For some businesses that were on the edge, unfortunately, it's sped up their, disaster. But on the other side, for things like Pay ID, for things like Touch and Go, I mean, it wasn't so long ago people were still heading to the post office to pay their bills. I think there still would be some people who are probably now making the transition, not because they necessarily want to, but because they have to. Do you still think there are some people, though, who are a little bit skeptical about paying online? They've been watching these current affairs programs that are telling you about being hacked and how difficult it is, and your card details could be stolen, and that's why they still want that physical cash. They want that physical point.
Of course, absolutely. And we have all good reasons to stay vigilant. None of these things are absolutely fail-safe, but neither is cash. And so what we are seeing, what we have been seeing already for the last 10, 12 years, is a very steep decline in the usage of cash. I looked it up yesterday, and it turns out that by the start of the GFC, global financial crisis, we were seeing something like 70% cash usage in Australia. By now, it's something down to 30%. So already we're more digital than we used to. Having said that, not everyone has access to every method. That is both on the merchant side and on the consumer side. And making sure that access is granted more freely is one important aspect, of course, but it's probably also another side of it, which is just the information, knowing how to use it and when to use it. In the meanwhile, people are coming up with all kinds of MacGyver solutions. I saw a person yesterday who had their payment card, their debit card, inside a little plastic bag, so they didn't actually have to touch the card on the terminal. Now, of course, most of these things work with near-field communications. You don't actually have to touch it anyway, but all of these are new things for most people, and it takes to get used to.
We're obviously comparing what we're going through now to the last global financial crisis. How do you think that payments have evolved and also weathered the storm since then? Because there are now huge companies that are really focused on these payment systems, etc. since that point. But what have we learned since the last GFC, and what have we put into place?
So I think most things that we have learned, we have probably not learned because of the GFC. These are fundamentally different crises from a payments point of view. Now, one of them, for instance, is that generally in a crisis, you put them under the mattress, or you flee into gold and similar. That is what we saw last crisis. That is not at all what we're seeing this crisis. For the very reason we started off this conversation. It is deemed to be dirty. So that's different. But the wonderful thing, if that's a word I can use in this context, but the good thing, at least for us, the encouraging thing, is that there are many more new technologies. There are many technologies that are available simply were not around last time. We have more scope to change and adapt and adopt in ways that make our lives just slightly easier in this traumatic. So the fact that there are ways, I mean, PayID was only really launched 2 years ago. It would not have even been an option before this. Debit and credit cards obviously were all around, but not everyone accepted it as freely as they do now.
Yeah,
pricing
now
has gone down.
let's just finally talk about Monoova, of course, the Australia's leading end-to-end payments provider. You've been on the ground supporting SMEs and also emerging business across the country. Just talk to us about what you do to help them and what you're seeing from them at the moment. Are you guys busy, or has it taken a bit of a step back?
We find ourselves very, very busy at the moment, and we feel very lucky that that is the case. We are supporting a large number of very different businesses, Australian, but they have very different needs that they're in. So we'll have some that are very sophisticated, and we have some that are more conventional shops. All of them need ways of continuing to survive, and you need to move money in, you need to move money out, and that's what we do. We automate how you receive, manage, and pay funds, and we do that through an automation engine that does in ways that you probably wouldn't normally if you're using just a straight bank or many other payment providers. So the way that we support them is really making sure that as they have to worry about pretty much everything else, some of our clients are doing very well, I should say. But as we all are finding ourselves in a certain time, the one thing we don't need to worry about is our payments coming in, our payments going out.
Okay, Christian, really appreciate your time. Have a great Easter. Thank you.
Good to see you again. Thank you.